Hi, I'm reviewing a video game. This'll be fun. Anyways, I freaking love Resident Evil Village. I was looking forward to RE8 back when those first trailers came out, and I would have never have expected to be absolutely swept away by this game. It has become my favorite Resident Evil game, and also just one of my new favorite games in general. But what makes me enjoy it so much? And surely there are some shortcomings with the game, right? Well, if you want some deeper insight into why I feel this way, stick around. However, here's a fair warning that I will be going into some spoiler territory. I'm not going to be revealing like any huge twists or the ending or anything like that, but if you wanted to go through the game completely blind, here's your final warning. First of all, I think we should address the actual gameplay itself. If you've played RE7, you know what you're coming into. Or, if you've played any Resident Evil game before, you know what to generally expect. I think Village really was able to fine-tune the gameplay that was great both from 7 and other prior games in the series. Specifically, the addition of Duke, the Merchant.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters.
You can sell and buy stuff from Duke, similar to the Merchant from Resident Evil 4. Personally, I think this gameplay mechanic works far better than the games without merchants of sorts. For example, in Resident Evil 2's remake, I was nearly constantly worried I was gonna run out of ammo, and sometimes I actually did. That style works for RE2, because there's a much bigger emphasis on the themes of survival horror in that one. Village is much more akin to a thriller. While there was some unnerving moments here and there, I never found Village to be actually scary by any means. Not to say that's a bad thing necessarily. Personally, I think the thriller aspect works well with the setting and the gameplay. Having plenty of ammo available to you at all times makes me feel like I have a safety net in that regard. But it should also let you know that there's going to be plenty of combat in-game. When it came to RE2's remake, I had the feeling I needed to run around the monsters. With Village, I feel much more encouraged to actually try killing them all, which I personally find much more fun compared to sneaking around. Best of all, when you defeat an enemy and get a super beautiful crystal thing made from their left behind corpses, I feel a huge rush of excitement. Mostly because I know I can give this crystal to Duke and turn a huge profit. Killing the monsters feels like I'm being rewarded in this way, and it pushes me to get better at it. Between the action gameplay, the puzzles, and the exploration of the dungeons, the gameplay never feels tired or repetitive. Another fun element is how many guns you get. I find Resident Evil games are at their best when you play through them multiple times. Gotta get those points to unlock the bonus stuff, right? Having a huge selection of guns and RE4's item management system means that no two playthroughs have to be the same. There's a lot of choices, and it's a lot of fun.
What is with the creepy story? She's only 6 months old.
The real plot to the game is that Ethan needs to rescue his baby daughter, Rosemary. I find this plot to be a lot more powerful compared to 7's setup. While Mia is fine, I find it hard to really care about her, but having it be Ethan's daughter helps me feel an attachment to her, and being in first person really helps with that. Rose can't defend for herself or anything, so I really feel like it's up to me, and by proxy, Ethan, in order to save her. It really inspired me to keep pushing forward in order to save Rosemary, and then seeing the 4 House Lords of the village just pushed me even further, because I was super intrigued by their characters and designs. I just really wanted to see more of these characters, and I wanted to progress through the story. Unfortunately, between these two elements of the game is probably the worst part of it. What I would classify as Village's tutorial level. What a slog to get through. It's painfully linear, and worst of all, it takes forever to get through. Oh my god. It takes like an hour just to get past this point, and I don't know why.
Stay back.
Please, don't hurt us.
None of these characters mean anything in the long run. They're not interesting, and they don't have a very big impact on the story or anything. I mentioned that Resi games are at their best when played through multiple times, but this part is a real pain in the ass during playthroughs. It's just so boring and tedious. I don't want to waste my time dicking around with Louisa or Elena. Yawn. Fortunately, you can skip cutscenes in this game, and it helps make things go by a little faster, but it's still the worst part of the game, without a doubt.
Reach for me! God damn it!
Straying away from the gameplay, I want to talk about the real bread and butter to the game, the characters. Okay, we all love Lady Demetrescu, obviously, look at her. She's so tall and cool and pretty. She's all me and everyone else seem to want to talk about. But you know, I really think we're sleeping on the other characters over here.
Quiet now, child. Adults are talking.
Really, the four heads of the houses and the Wicked Witch Miranda is honestly the best part of this game. I found the Baker family to be creepy and revolting in their own various ways, and it actually made me feel super uncomfortable every time I encountered one of them. I didn't like the Bakers, I just wanted to kill them so I could get out of their disgusting house. These five, on the other hand, I found immediately interesting and entertaining. Even though they really only get a few lines across the whole game, I found their personalities to be a lot of fun and varied. I liked seeing these characters, watching them banter with each other, or with Ethan Winters. Hands down, these five are the reason I fell in love with this game so much.
He's awake!
Shut the fuck up!
We have to play as Ethan Winters, and while he's a nice guy, he's also rather basic, for lack of a better term. Being first person definitely makes me care a lot more for him and his struggles. It's easy to empathize with Ethan since I'm essentially living through his eyes. However, his personality really isn't anything to carry the weight of the dialogue needed for the game's story. And that's where our antagonists end up doing the heavy lifting. Lady Demetrescu and her daughters, Donna and Angie, Moreau, Heisenberg, and Miranda all have distinct personalities and are charming in their own different ways. After this brief scene early in the game, I was on the edge of my seat in anticipation. I couldn't wait to see these characters even more. Having our various enemies be based off of classic movie monsters is a lot of fun, because I just really enjoy using classic movie monsters for a base for a character's design. It's great. The little story Mia reads in the beginning of the game is a unique way to hint at what each character is based on without ever becoming too obvious about it, leaving a little bit of a mystery to the full extent of these characters' abilities. And the way RE Village makes these classic monsters still make sense in the world of Resident Evil is a fun little extra element to the game. That being said, I think reading all the extra notes around the game is highly critical to fully understanding and enjoying the story. Now then, as for our four different bosses leading up to Miranda, they're all unique with their level design. Each house of the village acts as a dungeon of sorts, while the village itself is more of an in-between hub world. Probably one of my biggest gripes with the game is just how boring the design of the village actually is. It's really narrow and crowded, with little bits and shit, making it feel more like a trailer park than an actual village. More importantly though, everything just looks the same. I had a hard time figuring out where I was supposed to go most of the time, nearly constantly opening the map to figure out which direction I'm supposed to be in. For being the namesake of the game itself, I would have expected the actual village to leave a little bit more of an impact. Fortunately, the four different dungeons of the game really help pick up the design process where the village failed at. Our first boss is Lady Demetrescu, who we all know is a big-ass vampire lady.
Like I'd let you get away.
I think the choice to make the vampire enemy a powerful, sexy woman was a really cool idea. It's a fresh new direction for vampire-themed monsters, and having her be a mother-type figure is probably the most unique aspect to it. Replacing the Brides of Dracula with Demetrescu's daughters was a fun new take on the concept. Though I wish the three different daughters actually had more of a unique personality to them. For how brief their appearances actually are in-game, I suppose it's not a bad thing, they're all essentially the same enemy. But they were able to give the four House Lords distinct personalities, even with their limited screen time. It just feels like a wasted opportunity to me. The Demetrescu Castle is the second largest dungeon in the game. The puzzles in the castle are all pretty easy to solve, especially because they're constantly giving you the answer. I get it, they hate the cold. This is like the 500th note that tells me this. But there's a lot of extra little directions to go, with more monsters and goodies for you to find. I found exploring her castle to be quite a lot of fun. However, I will admit our fair lady did disappoint me in one regard. Now, she is undoubtedly a badass. She's super strong and gave me quite a few moments of panic while I was playing. However, when I heard she was going to be this stalker type enemy, similar to Mr. X from RE2, I was really excited. She seems like the perfect perfect kind of character, both with her personality and her abilities to fill that role. Unfortunately, that threat is really sort of hollow. She doesn't stray from her area in the main hallway too much, so she really only chases you for a handful of minutes, and even then you can easily scoot around her into a different room. I wished her chasing aspect was a little more fleshed out. Next, we have Donna and her puppet, Angie. Out of all 4 of the lords of the village, I felt like Donna and Angie really got the short end of the stick when it came to their development and their dungeon. It's super short. Without knowing the answers to the puzzles, it only took me like 20 minutes. And once I did know the answers, I could breeze through her level in like 5 to 10 minutes. It's a disappointment, because this level really delivered the most unnerving imagery in the entire game, in my opinion. I really want to see them explore that a lot more, especially since a part of the gimmick is that they take your guns away, leaving you with nothing to defend yourself. And I think that's a lot of fun, for this level at least. I also really wanted to develop Donna and Angie a lot more. The duality is a fun dynamic. They represent dark and light, death and life. I wanted them to play with this concept a lot more in her dungeon, but unfortunately it wasn't there. They're based off of ghosts, specifically paranormal possessions like with Annabelle, hence the doll. But Donna's seamstress concept was a creative aspect to her design that just really felt underdeveloped in the long run. I really hope we see DLC in the future that'll give Donna and Angie the screen time they deserve, because they have tons of untapped potential.
TikTok! Your life song alive.
Wait!
Next is Moreau, and he's fine. I like his design, and I found him to be a rather sympathetic character, which was a fun departure from the other House Lords. But I don't know, his level was sort of simple. There's not really much in the puzzle aspect for his dungeon. You kind of just walk up to a spot, it tells you you need to turn on the battery, then you go through a series of hallways before you get to the battery, and then loop back to where you started. On my first playthrough, I found it pretty boring. There's not even like a lot of enemies to fight or anything. But on my subsequent playthroughs, I appreciated how easily and quickly I could breeze through his stage, so I guess it depends on what it is you're looking for with this level. As for Moreau himself, I like his unique twist on the sea monster type of monster he's based off of. I like the frog-like appearance to his monster's design, and with the hidden body inside of his mouth and the numerous eyes all over him, it actually makes me consider his boss design to be the most grotesque out of the bunch. And his fight was pretty challenging too. It wasn't hard to figure out, but the narrow arena gave it a little bit of a challenge the others didn't generally have, and Moreau's unique arena made his fight really stand out in the long run.
What's so funny?
You're stupid.
Finally, there's the one, the only, Heisenberg. Yaw, yeah. Listen, okay, alright, I get it. Lady Demetrescu is a hottie. I love her, look at her. You all drooled over her for months leading up to the game's release. Me too, honestly. But Heisenberg, though. Heisenberg is a lot of fun. He's got a really charismatic personality, and every time he's on screen, he just demands your attention. Just look at him, yes! Heisenberg really caught me off guard. I was super convinced he was going to be the Wolfman. I mean, it made so much sense, right? He argues with Lady Demetrescu, classic vampire versus werewolf personalities, am I right? He seemed like he has some control over the Lycans, or at least maybe more than the others, or he at least addresses them. But in the story in the beginning, he's symbolized as a steel horse, and like, that's not a wolf. Well, I figured out by going through his level and reading the notes that he's actually Frankenstein. That's a lot of fun. What a fun take on Frankenstein. This twist was probably the part of the game that blew me away the most. His ability to control metal is super unique, and they play around with his ability in all the coolest ways.
Together, we can go save Rose, and we can use her to grind Miranda into paste.
Oh, hell yeah, Heisenberg. I want to team up with you. I'll join your rebellion. Fuck yeah.
I'll take my chances.
No, Ethan, what the fuck, bro? You can't just cock block me like this. Ugh. Heisenberg's factory is definitely the longest dungeon in the game. Design-wise, I'm not a big fan of how it looks. I just keep getting lost. It all looks the same to me. I can't figure out where I'm going or where I've already been. Like, I know there's not much you can do to jazz up the visuals for a factory setting, but I don't know, it is possible. However, the factory also has my favorite puzzles and enemy progression. It's just tricky enough to solve these puzzles, and they're all really clever without ever becoming confusing or frustrating. But the enemies you face in the factory is actually my favorite part. Usually the enemies you fight in the dungeons are pretty lackluster. Gameplay-wise, they're just the classic slow zombies. They just happen to look different. Oh, no, it's not a zombie, it's a, lichen, yeah, it's different, get it? In Heisenberg's factory, though, the enemies actually get progressively harder and harder, each one with their own gimmicks. But it never feels like they're overwhelming you with too many jumps in difficulty. Once I was just getting used to beating one type of enemy, they would introduce the next one. Between the Ein, Zwei, Panzer, and so on, their natural progression in difficulty made them leave a much bigger impact on me than the usual enemies ever did. And this is actually where I'm gonna stop my review. After all, I don't want to spoil the ending of the game for you. I do actually highly suggest you experience it on your own, and I really love this game. It's been quite a while since a game has left this big of an impact on me, and it blows me away. I was expecting to enjoy Village, but I never would have guessed I was going to love it this much. I love this world, I love these characters, and on that note, every single voice actor is amazing. Like, every single one of you does an amazing job in this game. Well done, everyone. 10 out of 10. The game does have some bumps here and there, but nothing that I couldn't end up forgiving in the long run. The story especially won me over. This game makes me actually like Ethan as a character. It makes me enjoy Resident Evil 7 more in hindsight. This game entertained me so much. I immediately wanted to play through it again as soon as the credits were done rolling. I'm hoping with all my heart that there's tons of DLC for this game, because I'm dying to get back into this village and spend more time with these characters and enemies. On top of that, I'm also itching for Resident Evil 9 now, whenever that one's gonna come out. I mean it, I love this game. It blew me away. And if you're a fan of Resident Evil, you really need to play it too. And even if you're not a fan of the franchise, I still recommend it. You don't really need to know all of the lore or history of the games that came before this one, but if you do know about the games that came before this, then you're probably going to enjoy it a lot more. There's a lot of cute little references here and there, and it just brings a big goofy smile to my face. I mean it. I love this game. It was absolutely fantastic. Resident Evil Village, 9 out of 10. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to my $10 patrons. You're all amazing. Nako, James Dodds, Cool Duck, Andrew, Ramiel, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, G Extreme, Classy Critic, Surge, Boulder Off Bros, Noah Perkins, Sunny Shy, Great Bar, Caleb Grimm, Pentimenta, Genital War Thunder, Forgotten Schnee, Carmen, Order, Vortex, Jake, Sarah's Van, Mookie, and Amber. So yeah, do you like Resident Evil Village? Have you played it? What do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? Literally every and all opinion, I'd love to hear them. I just want to hear more about Village, because it's great. And Heisenberg. We need more Heisenberg fan art, guys. There's tons of Lady Demetrescu fan art. We can get more Heisenberg in here. No, I would love to see, like, what are your thoughts and opinions? Which one's your favorite House Lord? Yeah, it's probably Demetrescu. Any and all thoughts and opinions, leave in the comments below. I would love to see them, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.